Hey, it's Whitney from EcoVeganGal.com and welcome back to another EVG Uncensored. This video is about online bullying, and I was thinking of maybe doing a quick update on things with me. Maybe that'll come, but I really want to focus on this first, and if there's time and I feel inspired, then I will give you a little update because it feels like it's been a while since I've connected with you. So this was inspired by a really wonderful email that I received this morning, and the person who sent it is going to remain anonymous, but I do want to say that this person is very, very dear to my heart, and this email meant so much to me, and I think it's such an incredible lesson for me personally, for this person, as well as you watching, because I think many people can relate to this. So let's jump right into this email. I'm going to try to edit out anything that reveals this person's identity because I didn't check with them first before I read the email, and I apologize for that, but I really felt inspired to record this video, and I think that they will understand. Okay, so the email is, in brief, sharing some thoughts after an incident that happened to this person yesterday online. And it was related to my videos in which I've spoken a few times about people being rude to me online. And this person that wrote me this message often comments things like, don't pay attention to them, and often writes like a full paragraph about it and why it shouldn't bother me. And it's really been advice. And it's funny because the person who wrote this has said that many times, as this person is acknowledging in this email. Why don't we give this person a name, a fake name? Let's just call this person, I didn't think of this off the top of my head. I don't know. What's a good name? I'll just give this person Jane, okay? We'll just keep it obvious and stereotypical. Jane, okay. So Jane often comments that I shouldn't worry about when people bully me online, and I actually don't usually feel like people are bullying me, but sometimes it does feel that way. Sometimes it's hard. It's definitely challenging to be someone creating content online, and I think that this is something that I often open up about because I use this Uncensored channel to really reach out to you and express myself and really share what's going on in my life. And I also feel like you can really relate to a lot of the things that I'm going through, and that's why I open up. And sometimes it's hard to open up in that way because I don't want to ever seem like I'm complaining or saying the same things too frequently. But I also don't want to censor myself. I mean, that's why this whole channel is called Eco Vegan Gal Uncensored. I really want to be myself. And as much as I love the main Eco Vegan Gal channel with all my heart, it is very thought out. And sometimes I just yearn for that true expression, that full expression, that uncensored expression. So anyways, coming back to this message from Jane, who was commenting about how she as often says this, and the reason that Jane said that, has continuously commented things like, oh, don't pay attention to that, is because it had never happened to her. I didn't realize that, actually. And all these times that Jane had commented, I guess I assumed that she was just trying to give some good advice, and that I actually appreciated it. And oftentimes it was helpful to me because this came up multiple times, and she was a great reminder that I really need to check myself and not worry too much about what other people say to me and not let that affect me. However, while Jane said this has never happened to her before, when she wrote me this email, she said that was until yesterday, and a girl from some place that she goes to, that's specifically what she didn't want me to reveal, where this incident's happened, so I'm going to be very cautious about getting any details. But anyways, somebody that she'd interacted with sent her a message on Facebook, and they had a conversation about something that this person was selling, and the message was really challenging for Jane to receive. And this is someone that Jane doesn't know very well at all, who Jane has had very great conversations with, but hasn't really disclosed anything too personal about herself or about her life. And in this message, this person was writing to Jane about some challenging things, and basically it sounds like there was a rapid fire of insults and a lot of kind of making fun of, teasing, and insinuating that Jane was having problems because she couldn't decide about these products that this woman was buying. It seems like a really bizarre conversation. And no matter what, though, Jane felt like this person was being really rude to her, and nobody had ever quite been that blatantly rude to her ever before. And that's where I'm sure you can relate to this. We've all had those type of experiences, unfortunately, especially with social media, emails, all this online correspondence, blog posts, YouTube. There's almost always somebody that comes up that we may or may not know that says things that are really condescending, insinuating about something, kind of making fun of us for not knowing something or for acting a certain way. And that's where it kind of becomes something like bullying. To continue with Jane's message here, Jane decided to message this person back and graciously said thank you and take care and be well. She was very brief and kind. I think that's amazing. I love that response. Instead of fighting back, she was just very brief. She was nice about it and she tried to move on. Unfortunately, though, Jane had trouble the next day and she woke up and felt like she couldn't let it go. It was still bothering her. And that's where she thought of me. So here's where I'll read directly from this email here. Now I get what you are saying in these videos and why it bothers you. It hurts you and it is hard to deal with. Now I feel bad for just saying, Whitney, don't even let it get to you. So I am so sorry that I built that for that, but my intentions were in the right place. My heart was in the right place. Absolutely. I am so angered and hurt, mad that this person would have the audacity to speak to me like that. And because I asked a lot of genuine questions, she responded in a way that made me feel weak. She made me feel like a pushover. She has no respect for me, and a lot of what she wrote indicated that she sees me as a troubled person, and yet she doesn't know a thing about me. I am amazed at how much that got to me and how much it affected me. So I share all of this to tell you that I now understand what you go through when people are rude, bully, get mean, and I want to watch your videos again because I'll be listening from a perspective having been there. And I'm so sorry you had to ever deal with it because dealing with it once is so awful. I won't be saying, oh, get over it, Whitney, anymore. I will join in your crusade. So I just want to say a huge heartfelt thank you and just show my appreciation to Jane. You know who you are if you're watching this right now, and I'm sure you are. It meant so much to me to get that email, but the reason I decided to record this as a video is because I think it's such a great lesson that one huge problem that comes up online is people judging other people based on of not always understanding exactly what someone's going through. And I think that's where it's really challenging. A lot of the times when we comment on things or give our opinions on things, if we haven't had that direct experience, it is challenging to give advice, and it is challenging to really comment on it without really understanding it, unless your comment starts off with, I've never experienced this before, but this is what I think you should do. That's a different story, right? And I think that Jane recognized that what she was advising for me was something that she kind of assumed was easy, but until she experienced it herself, she didn't really get it. And I absolutely understand it. I know this person, and I know that things come from her heart. I personally really didn't take offense to when she said that to me. I actually appreciated it because it gave me an opportunity to reflect. But perhaps she felt the need to respond to me because not everybody feels that way when they get comments. And it is really hard. It is really challenging, whether you're having any sort of online persona like me, like you're on YouTube or you have a website or social media, wherever it may be. When you start to build up a community on these networks, these comments become more and more frequent. And I think that a lot of people don't quite understand what that feels like. I think it's incredibly challenging and something that I've gotten to the root of, and this is where I would want to share my experience with Jane and anybody else watching, is that I've learned to take my ego out of the equation as often as possible and recognize that a lot of time when I feel upset, it's like a bruise to my ego. So if somebody says something to me, I often have to just step back and say, why am I feeling pain right now? Why is this affecting me? Usually it's because it's somebody saying something that I'm afraid people are going to think about me. And I'm afraid that it's true. I'm afraid that they're right. And so let's say somebody calls me selfish or self-centered. Actually, I'll give you a really specific example that happened recently, yesterday. I am participating in a cruise, a vegan cruise, and I've received a bunch of, well, not a bunch, I've received maybe like 3 comments from people telling me that they think cruises are really unethical from an environmental and vegan standpoint, and they have certainly given valid reasons. And it really triggered me because I thought, uh-oh, are people going to think that I am a hypocrite? Are people going to, am I making a bad decision? Am I going to ruin my image? Am I doing something that's bad for the environment and animals and not realizing it? And I suddenly had like these big fears coming up. And I had to step back and recognize why I was feeling these things. Honestly, the reason it was hurtful was because I was afraid people were going to think poorly of me. And that's from a complete place of ego, right? I mean, anytime we're concerned about what other people think of us, it's like, that doesn't matter. That's such a superficial emotion that's been built up in our society. And it's ridiculous that we spend so much time worrying about what other people think. It's really a waste of our time, of our energy, and ultimately we can't please everyone. Now, I'm not going to go way into this reason why I'm doing the cruise and trying to validate myself anymore. I've talked about this on the main Eco Vegan Gal channel, and if you want to know about specifically that topic, you can check it out. Just go to my main channel and search for vegan cruise. And I answered this in a recent Q&A. And I understand that these people who have commented... I'm sorry, I just have to pause. I love it when Evie goes back there in my pillows. It is just like the cutest thing, and all you see is her little head or her nose. So enjoy that in the background during this serious topic. But anyways, my point in talking about this cruise thing is that was like a very recent thing, and I had to step back and say, you know, not everyone is going to agree with me. And not everyone is going to see me and understand me, and not everyone watches my videos to hear me explain everything. I can't spend all my time trying to justify my actions and my personality and my choices to every single person. And coming back to Jane's experience here, what I see when this sort of thing happens is Jane interacted with somebody, and that person interpreted Jane's, you know, the exchange communication that they had there as some, you know, maybe she thought that she was troubled. I think that's how Jane phrased it here, right? Or maybe that's just what she wrote. So a few things can happen here. First, Jane shows up, she's her personality, she puts it on to somebody else. That person received her in one way, made a judgment about her, and reflected back that. Now, the reflection is also coming through Jane's filter. So that person that Jane interacted might actually not think that she's troubled, but if she said it in a certain way that triggered Jane to feel that she was being judged as troubled, then she could build that up in her head. So you can see how it's kind of a waste of our time to try to like be so concerned about what other people think of us, because nobody's ever going to see us completely the way that we see ourselves. We have everything going on in our head, right? And our personalities are just a mixture of so many different experiences, right? And anything that we say and we do is a result of all of the past and anything going in our head, our judgments. It's like nobody's really seeing the world exactly the same as another person, because we all have come from different places. Even people in our family, we can't possibly have the same perspective on things because we're not around each other 24/7 a day. And so I feel like we have to really take a step back in these exchanges and recognize that, so what if this woman thought Jane was troubled? Jane knows that she's not troubled. It's really doesn't matter if that person thinks she's troubled or not, nor does it matter if people think that I'm not the best environmentalist in the world because I'm going on a cruise. It's like, I know that I made a decision based on a lot of research. I feel confident with my decision. And I have to just know that not everyone is going to agree with me, and I have to be okay with that. And it's a little bit different when you're in more of a public persona place, but I think this really pertains to anybody, anywhere, in our day-to-day interactions. We have somehow not been taught how to deal with this emotionally. We've been taught in a way to be overly sensitive to other people, to criticisms. And not to mention, other people have been taught to not know how to communicate properly, give constructive criticism, right? Whatever this woman said to Jane, perhaps she could benefit from learning some communication skills and learning not to make fun of somebody or make these snide comments, or, you know, like, I'm not justifying her behavior whatsoever. Clearly there was something going on, but we have to take a responsibility for ourselves. We can't be frustrated with the way somebody else is communicating. I mean, we can feel frustrated, but it's not worth it in the long run because we just can't control it. There's nothing that Jane can do to make this woman change. This woman has to feel inspired to change. She has to decide to change. She has to make the steps to change herself. And I think that the way Jane handled this interaction was phenomenal because she just said thank you. And maybe that woman was taken aback. Maybe that woman was expecting confrontation, right? Maybe for some reason she wanted to irritate Jane. People do that from time to time. Another quick example for you is a friend of mine experienced this a few days ago, and he had an interaction with somebody who judged him and gave him a piece of advice that really triggered my friend. And my friend felt himself like getting really boiled up and frustrated about this and having this reaction where he thought, oh my gosh, this person's judging me and he's calling me names and he's saying that I'm something that I'm not, and I know I'm not that. And I said, why are you so concerned about what this random person thinks of you? You know you're not what he said you were. You know that you're not in that place, that all these assumptions that he's making of you, that's just his perspective. You're probably never going to see this person again, so why are you getting so worked up? And I think that is the lesson I continuously learn online. It's a little different online, though, I do have to say, and I don't know if it's easier or harder. In Jane's experience and in my other friends' experience, they both dealt with people one-on-one. In Jane's experience, this is someone that she's probably going to run into over and over again, so that might be a little bit more uncomfortable, or it might be something that she can easily handle. Online, the pro is that you don't have to interact with them energetically in person, so it might be a little bit easier. You could block that person so you never have to deal with them again. Like there's a lot of easy ways to get rid of people like that. Or there's a con to that where you don't ever get to resolve it, and they're not people that you can just have a quick conversation with. They might be too embarrassed or shy to really engage with you, right? A lot of people hide behind the curtain of social media, the curtain of their online identities, and they say things that are much bolder than they would ever say in person. And so that's why sometimes it can hurt extra bad online, because people might say things they would never actually say to your face, and so it can be a lot worse. But in the end, no matter what the situation is, I feel like the best thing that we can do is to just step back and feel more grounded in ourselves, raise our self-value, focus in on ourselves, and check in with ourselves about why we feel hurt. We can give ourselves like a little therapy session where we can say, okay, Whitney, why am I feeling so hurt about this? What is this triggering? What am I feeling right now, and what is this am I assuming about what this person's saying? Why is this bothering me? What is this reminding me of? Did something happen in the past that I'm afraid is going to happen again? Is this an ego thing where I really just want to be perceived as perfect all the time? What is this going on? And when I do that, when I take that step back, I've learned how to resolve it really fast and recover so much faster. And it's still a daily practice, but I think it should be a daily practice. I think all of us need those interactions, and that's how we get stronger. I will tell you that the one place I haven't figured out how to really feel good about is like the thumbs down, because nobody tells you why they're giving you a thumbs down on YouTube or other social media networks. And you're like, why did you give me a thumbs down? That's like rejection. But again, it's just an ego thing. It's like, I don't feel like I'm good enough. You're telling me I'm not good enough. But who knows? I mean, it's crazy. So I guess I'm always looking for ways to work through it, and I also just want to say that I understand what you're going through, and I completely have compassion for your advice and everybody's different perspectives. I think when you are inviting people to comment on you through YouTube and social media and blog posts and everywhere else, you're kind of asking for it, and you're opening up to people criticizing you, whether it's constructive or not. And in life, whenever we interact with someone and communicate with them, you know, we have freedom of speech. You know, people are allowed to say whatever they want to say, and if we want to protect ourselves from people saying things that hurt our feelings, then we just shouldn't interact at all. And who really wants to live a life that way? I think it would much benefit us to look at these as opportunities to grow, to learn more about ourselves, to become better communicators. And yeah, I guess that's it from that perspective. Thank you so much to Jane for submitting this email, and it really means so much to me on a personal level. It felt really nice. And everybody else watching, I would love to hear your comments on the situation. Not even specifically, I guess, but maybe you want to share anything that you've dealt with and how you've dealt with it, or things that you've struggled through and yet not yet figured out, but where anybody else that's watching and commenting can support you. Remember, we are a community here, so in your comments, be respectful towards each other, support each other. Know that you can be vulnerable and open about your experiences and your advice, and support and open yourself up for that support from other people while you support others. And in doing so, you're not only supporting me, but you're supporting the whole community and anyone else who might be watching and quiet. You know, so many people watch videos and don't comment anything, and they might be reading your comment, and you could change their entire lives through just one piece of advice. And I think to Jane that, who knows, maybe you've inspired people through your comments to me in the past. And I don't think that it's worth viewing it as insensitive, even though you hadn't had that experience quite yet. But I completely understand that you wrote those comments from a place of heart. And I think it's amazing that you're now experiencing what it's like, and everybody else is going to go through their different experiences, and that's what the comments are all about. So I invite all of you to be open and share it based on where you are right now. And if we as a community can look at comments from that person is going through this right now, that's not saying everything about them forever and ever. That's not a permanent thing. What we write in our comments are sharing a piece of us. And I guess with that said, when somebody communicates with us, they're sharing something with us. And if we were to look at that, if we were to look at it from that perspective of, this is where this person is right now, we can have more compassion for them. If somebody says something mean to us and we just say, well, that person's in a very angry place right now. That person's in a judgmental place. Perhaps they will shift out of that one day. And I wish them the best, and I hope that they do. And I think that if we react that way internally and externally, we can actually help other people rise above it. So if any of you have ever said something that you regretted, just hope that whoever read it or experienced what you said in a negative way, that they're more understanding. And more often than not, people are very forgiving. I feel like most things are water under the bridge, and I've certainly said things that I've regretted and been forgiven many times. So that act of compassion, love, forgiveness, acceptance, and growth is the best thing that I can hope for people online. A lot of this information came out in ways that I hadn't quite entirely thought through, so I hope it makes sense to you. I've been talking for a while, so I'm going to wrap things up, but perhaps I'll do a little update video for you. I guess real quick. I don't know if it seems weird. I'm organizing things right now, and it's a mess on my couch, so I covered it up with a blanket, and I'm experimenting. I love that painting, but I don't know if it's going to go well in here. I'm still trying to figure out how to decorate my place over a year later. Things have been so wonderful for me. I had a phenomenal yoga class today. I've been off and on with yoga. I'm working on my ebook, and there are some interesting things in development that I would love to share with you if they work out. So things are great, and I would love an update from all of you, and I can't wait to hear on your perspectives, and let me know what content you want to see in future Eco Vegan Gal videos. I'm gonna go snuggle with Evie for a little bit. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out the main Eco Vegan Gal channel, as well as the other channels, which will be linked down below in the description field, including the What a Vegan Eats channel if you want to know what I'm eating on a regular basis, and the EVG Venture channel, where I talk about business tips for entrepreneurs like myself and like you probably. And I also have the Eco Vegan Dog channel, which is not updated that frequently, but you can check out past videos to learn more about Evie and my adventures with her on an eco-vegan level. And of course, there's social media. I would love you to be part of the conversation. So click the links in the description field down below to get involved in Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and anywhere else that fits for you, Google+, LinkedIn. You know, those are the major networks that I'm part of, and I love having you there. So comment, share, be involved there. And don't forget to check out the Eco Vegan Gal newsletter, which is also linked down below, where you will get weekly inspiration and recipes and all sorts of things I want to pass along to you, specifically to your inbox. Thank you so much for watching. I cannot wait to read your comment, and I will see you next time. Bye.